Good evening. My name's Amanda Lang, and I'm here to offend you. It's a role I used to reserve for my colleague Kevin O'Leary. But I don't want you just to be offended. I want you to be offended with purpose. Because when you're offended with purpose, you start to think. Now, you may already be thinking, I know how to think. Thank you very much. See, I've offended you already. Thinking's a bit like riding a bike. We know how to do it. Something you learned to do when you were young. It's a knowledge that gets lodged in your muscle memory and the balance of your inner ear. Something that once you know how to do, stays with you for life. Like many of you, I grew up riding bikes. I learned to do it young. We rode around our neighborhoods because when I was young, the bicycle meant independence and freedom. And that was only replaced later with a driver's license and a car. And so when years later I took up riding again, this time on a road bike over long distances, I thought, I know how to ride a bike. And I did, to a point. But what I didn't know was how to ride a road bike. There's a difference. You need to learn how to take a steep hill. You need to learn the endurance to go long distances. And the biggest challenge for me in learning to ride a road bike was unlearning what I knew about riding a bike. Our challenge is that our brains are wired for automatic thinking. It saves us energy if we can file a piece of information away. We know how to do it, we know where to get it, we will access it quickly. It's evolutionary. Effortful, in-the-moment thinking takes energy, we're geared against it. The problem with automatic thinking, of course, is that it is the end of new knowledge. It trips us up all over the place. And just as I would never have learned to properly ride a steep hill on my road bike if I wasn't willing to unlearn what I knew and embrace my ignorance, we need to know what we don't know. So what don't we know for sure? Well, pretty much everything. Even the observations that you're having right now, what you see and hear, are completely different than the person beside you. And they may be different than the ones you'll have tomorrow. Remember the blue and black dress? Or was it white and gold? It was blue and black, guys. One of the qualities of highly intelligent people I have observed is humility. A money manager who manages billions of dollars of assets under management told me that every time he makes a trade, he pictures the person on the other side. Because he's gone to great lengths and done a great deal of analysis to come to the decision to sell a stock. But somebody equally as smart, he thinks, if not smarter, has done a great deal of work and analysis and has decided to buy it from him. And every time he thinks, what if that guy is Warren Buffett? It's humility that allows him to second-guess himself, and in second-guessing himself, it allows him to either confirm or disconfirm his beliefs. It's humility with his own ignorance. Now, that kind of humility would be easier if we weren't all so offended by contrary views. Being offended is like a new global pastime. As you know, professors are now afraid to teach their students for fear of offending them. You've heard of trigger warnings. Warnings about material that could be incendiary to young people. You may not know that the work of F. Scott Fitzgerald is included in some trigger warnings. Humorists will tell you that their craft has now become a minefield. The workplace is one where anyone can be accused of bullying, and constructive criticism becomes nearly impossible. Challenging the consensus is just not tolerated on certain subjects. Do we avoid contrary ideas, those of us in the room, that insist we give up knowledge that we already have because we find them offensive? Of course we do. There are plenty of contrary ideas that we don't want to explore. There are plenty of conversations that we want to be over. We want to feel safe. Are you ready to be offended? Here are some topics of conversation that will offend some or all at one time or another. What if the debate about abortion shouldn't be over? What if it's a debate that should be ruled by science and not politics? Or, how about the way we treat animals, including those beloved house pets of ours? Go home and look at them. Will we one day look back in horror? In some cases, a kind of cross-species genocide, in other cases, enslavement. Should we set them all free? Here's one that'll ruin a dinner party. Maybe Trump wouldn't be a bad president. Or, maybe there are so few women CEOs because women's priorities shift after they have children. How about this one? I find it deeply upsetting. Is there really any evolutionary purpose for the female orgasm? Have I offended anyone yet? Christ, I hope so. Here's one that would deeply offend some. Does God exist? Now, this one I like a lot. It's a question that humans have asked since the dawn of time. They may have asked it about Yahweh or Muhammad, but the point is, we're questioning the very creation, the why of why we're here. And that is deeply human. No other animal, as far as we know, ruminates on this question. Now, I shouldn't speak for the dolphins. And frankly, my Labrador Bella sometimes looks very contemplative. But it's a question that, by nature, requires us to embrace ambiguity. We can believe, you can believe fervently, passionately, you can have great faith. There is no scientific answer to this question. It's an open-ended question, and open-ended questions remind us of the need for all of the others, all of the ones we think we've already locked up, sealed down, settled once and for all. I think we should challenge ourselves more often. Think of our most deeply held views, not just the convictions, but the ones that are laced with emotion. And then think of the argument on the other side that would make what you think wrong, and try to really believe it. If you find yourself often in the majority on a view, stop and ask, are you there because it's comfortable and safe, or are you there because it's right? What if we are wrong? What if instead we overcome our brain's hardwired limitations, its desire to know and store information quickly, and stop automatic thinking more often? What if we overcome our inclination to find contrary ideas and views so threatening, and instead greet them with non-judgmental curiosity? What if we embrace the ambiguous, just to see what happens next? Letting go of an old idea can be scary, but as we also know, it can be fun. In fact, other than the female orgasm, it may be the most fun you can have. Thank you. And I'm sorry.